can't stay here any longer. Not now.
The Jedi Order is your life. You can't just throw it away like this. Ahsoka, you are making a mistake.
Maybe. But I have to sort this out on my own. Without the Council. And without you.
I understand. More than you realize. I understand wanting to walk away from the Order.
I know.
Those were the last words Ahsoka spoke as she turned away from the temple. Anakin watched as her figure was consumed by the light, not realizing that soon she would be consumed by the dark. After Ahsoka's departure from the Jedi Order, Ahsoka found herself within the depths of the Coruscant underworld, trying to earn a living for herself. She took various odd jobs around level 1313, repairing ships, machinery, and other small craft. This got her by for a time being, and she made enough credits to obtain a small apartment and rations. Meanwhile, the pain of Ahsoka's departure tormented Anakin for the following weeks. Elsewhere in the galaxy, Maul seethed in silence. Mother Talzin's attempt at revenge had left her dead, and Sidious only mildly annoyed at the weakness of his own apprentice and cyborg. For now, the Zabrak's power was confined to the Black Sun in Mandalore. His recent vision of the galaxy in flames at the hand of his master and their new apprentice, Kenobi's Padawan, didn't help matters. Maul's rage was interrupted, however, by the entrance of one of his most loyal Mandalorians.
My lord, there is news on the Black Sun's operations on Coruscant. The trial of the Jedi suspect Ahsoka Tano has ended in an upset. Another Jedi was revealed to be the culprit, though Tano has apparently forsworn the Jedi Order despite her innocence.
That name is unfamiliar to me. Why tell me this?
Your recent vision, you mentioned the name Skywalker. Tano was his Padawan. Accordingly, she was also close to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Now that is curious. She could be useful, if only for information should she be uncooperative.
Our Black Sun operatives have observed her in the Undercity, specifically level 1313. Without a steady income of Republic credits or the protection of the lofty Zealot Temple, she is vulnerable.
Maul, deeply entrenched in his own thoughts, mulled over the name Tano, his intense gaze finally fixed on Almec. Bring her to me. My plans may yet evolve, with her as a piece on the board.
It will be done, my lord.
The Togruta in question sped through the Undercity on her stolen speeder, wind stinging her face. She had been offered a job on a nearly derelict Gazanti freighter that was sending black market supplies to neutral systems. As much as she objected to the immorality of the markets in these times of war, she didn't have the luxury of choice. As she approached the landing pad she needed to be at, A113, Ahsoka saw the mishmash of insignia that littered the freighter's hull. Everything from the Black Sun's spiked sphere to the Mandalorian mythosaur. She stopped her speeder in front of the platform's administrator when she arrived.
Are you crew?
Yes, I guess I am.
Very well. We can take care of your bike there. It's included in the docking rental. And remember, that ship's scheduled to leave soon, so don't dawdle.
Thank you.
Ahsoka climbed the entrance ramp to the ship and entered its dim corridors. Some lights were blown, and the occasional bulkhead still had blast marks on it from the ship being boarded. An eerie silence enveloped Ahsoka as she ventured further into the ship, putting her on edge. Eventually, she came to what she assumed was a mess area, and finally found some crew members.
Ah, Togruta. You're finally here. This is the crewman I was telling you guys about. This is the one he wanted.
Yup.
Okay.
Hey! No!
The Phaleen, who was still seated, surreptitiously pressed a button, and Ahsoka's world went dark as an electrical surge overwhelmed her. She dropped to the floor as the first Phaleen crewman moved to tie her arms. When she awoke, Ahsoka found herself forced to shield her eyes from a bright white light coming through a window. She sat up, disoriented, and tried to figure out where she was. It didn't take long. Ahsoka was familiar with the architecture she saw. After all, this wasn't her first visit to the palace of Mandalore. Adrenaline quickly took over as Ahsoka shot up off the bed she was in and ran to the door of the room. It was locked, and a quick check of the windows confirmed that they did not have a suitable ledge to jump down onto. Gathering herself, Ahsoka charged a force push and blasted the door down before charging out. The Black Sun guards outside her room were slow to react and were quickly subdued by Ahsoka. She resumed running, but as Ahsoka neared where she knew there was a lift, she found herself face to face with a Mandalorian supercommando. The two stared each other down. Ahsoka with mild panic and determination etched on her face, and the Mandalorian with surprise apparent under his helmet. Not that she could really tell from anything but his body language. The tension broke as Ahsoka rushed the Mandalorian, closing the distance fast enough that his first blaster shots missed. Ahsoka disarmed him, but the hand-to-hand combat was not in her favor. Her lethargy and the after-effects of being shocked caused Ahsoka to be at a disadvantage. And so, when the Mandalorian managed to land a solid blow to the side of her head, she found herself unable to recover properly. The Mandalorian restrained her with wrist binders before he forced Ahsoka to her feet and began to move her. In moments, Ahsoka found herself on her knees in the throne room, groggily looking up at Darth Maul on the throne.
Ahsoka. Tano, is it? I admit yours is a name unfamiliar to me.
A Zabrak with red tattoos and extensive prosthetics. Maul, I assume?
You are correct. These disfigurements are thanks to your friend, Kenobi.
Good to know. Obi-Wan is more skilled with a lightsaber than barber shears.
Yes. It is unfortunate how he betrayed you.
He did not betray me.
No? Did the Jedi Council not throw you out into the hands of an unforgiving and blissfully ignorant public, spurred on by an upstart and biased admiral?
I left voluntarily.
But did they not motivate you to leave? Even Kenobi, a respected master of the Council?
He was the first one to invite me back.
An action as great in its irrelevance as it is in its stupidity. He is as blind and reactive as the rest of them.
He was pretty proactive every time he defeated you.
Every day, the Jedi are hailed as defenders of the Republic, and yet it will soon no longer be the controlling interest in the galaxy.
The Seppies aren't that good.
You misunderstand. The threat is from within, and among others, from your ex-master, one Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One.
As if I would ever believe that.
I have seen, Lady Tano, a galaxy in flames, the Jedi betrayed, purged. Soon he will be in control, and the Republic, the Confederacy, the Jedi, everything will fall into his grip. It has already begun. Darth Sidious has groomed Skywalker for years to be his new apprentice. The fall of that fool Dooku, and he will fall, will only accelerate the destruction.
Sidious?
Of course you don't know him. The Council has kept it from you. Secrets within their own order, not even telling. The ones fighting what they are fighting for. The orchestrator of the Clone Wars, he who leads both sides through his apprentice, Dooku the Pretender. My master. The phantom behind it all. Darth Sidious. The Chancellor of the Republic.
You lie. That isn't true. As if I would believe a Sith.
I am no Sith. Not anymore. Just as you are no Jedi. I do not lie.
Even then, I'll tell Anakin. Clear this up. If what you say is true, I'll stop it.
Oh, do, please. Go back, tell them. Tell your master that his mentor has been a Sith in disguise. But do you really think he will believe you? After they cast you out? After you abandoned them in turn? After you walked away? Now you expect them to listen to you? Civilian? You expect to just crawl back to the palace in the clouds, blinded by the cloak they've allowed to drape around them? Shielded behind a false silver lining? No. Perhaps Kenobi would listen to you after all. He knows. Perhaps even the Council. But then you would only accelerate their fall, accelerate the vision. I see the temple burning, young lady. Will you set the blaze?
I don't know what to say.
Because you know the truth, Lady Tano. You've seen it for yourself. But you continue to deny it every single day since you left those steps in shame. Skywalker is the key to everything. You could help me by stopping Sidious. You save everything. Your precious clones, your master, your friends, even the galaxy. All by telling your master that the one person that he trusts implicitly in this galaxy has been working towards his downfall and yours for decades. Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
And what if you are wrong?
Then you can kill me yourself if your master doesn't beat you to it.
Ahsoka knelt in shock as she processed Maul's words.
You require time.
With a wave of his hand, Maul made the binders fall from Ahsoka's wrist.
You are welcome to stay, and welcome to leave. You will not be stopped again. I suggest returning to your chamber to meditate, yes. Think, Lady Tano. Think.
Ahsoka began to walk away. Maul's words, the voices of those she had lost, all of them rang in her head.
All in due time.
Ahsoka remained in her chambers as she pondered Maul's words. She couldn't deny that what he had said about Palpatine and the Sith filled certain gaps. But working with Maul, someone she was diametrically opposed to on principle, who her friends fought to the death against, it made her apprehensive, to say the least. As she looked over the city from the railing, she realized her position in all of this. She couldn't just ignore it. If Palpatine was indeed the one behind everything and Anakin was in his thrall, then now the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Ahsoka's thoughts turned to Anakin, her former master and friend. She couldn't bear the thought of him falling to the dark side, of becoming a pawn of the Sith. Ahsoka couldn't help but think of all the times Anakin had saved her, had believed in her even when she doubted herself. She thought of how he had tried to bring her back to the Order. their conversation on the steps.
I understand. More than you realize. I understand wanting to walk away from the Order.
I know.
She had deprived him of the rank of master that day, yet he was only concerned with her well-being. Ahsoka remembered the lessons he had taught her, the guidance he had provided. She walked away, but now she was in a position to save him. The next day, Ahsoka returned to Maul's throne room, escorted by Maul's Mandalorian soldiers.
Lady Tano,
Maul,
I sense that you have made a decision. Enlighten me.
I'll work with you, but only because I want to prevent the Jedi Order from falling. If this turns out to be a charade, I will stop you.
Maul straightened himself up, then he stood and walked toward her. His metal legs thudded with each step against the ceramic floor. Maul paused in front of her, looking at Ahsoka with a hint of amusement in his eyes.
You are an atypical Jedi. Individualistic, lacking in that toxic arrogance. You have something they lack.
And what's that?
Clarity. You see the truth for what it is, and you don't shy away from it. That's what makes you an asset in this fight against Sidious.
Ahsoka frowned, unsure if she should take Maul's words as a compliment or an insult.
I don't trust you, and I won't until you prove to me that you're serious about this. No games, no lies.
Maul smirked, his yellow eyes glittering in the dim light.
I assure you, Lady Tano, I am quite serious. You will see soon enough. However, we must prepare. The clock is ticking.
Ahsoka nodded, steeling herself for the road ahead. She didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain. She couldn't afford to fail. Not with so much at stake.
I see that you are wearing the clothing provided to you by my loyal Mandalorians. You will find no finer cloth. Now, back to business, Lady Tano.
Maul walked around Ahsoka, observing her. Her stance, her attitude, the bags under her eyes.
First, you must understand, defeating Sidious requires more than just the Jedi teachings you have been accustomed to. It requires understanding the Sith mind and will. Two things you cannot learn from any mere Jedi.
The ways of the dark side? That wasn't part of our agreement. I thought I was only helping you to stop Sidious. I am not a Sith.
To understand the dark is not necessarily to use it, but unfortunately, your teaching as a Jedi pupil of Skywalker's is not enough to survive the war we will bring to Sidious. Now, as you have remained, I will give you a very simple first task.
And what would that be?
Release your apprehension, embrace feeling, and allow your mind to be free. You will go to Coruscant as my enforcer to see that a message is made clear.
Message?
A message of blood, to be exact. I want you to kill a man of insignificance, a debt collector by the name of Pintu Son El, one who wrongs the inhabitants on his level.
Kill someone? I'm not a murderer, Maul.
Do not underestimate the task at hand, Lady Tano. It's not simply about taking a life, but understanding the power of the dark side. The emotion, the anger, the hate, all of it must be channeled properly to achieve our goals. Even your Master Windu brushes with it regularly.
I understand that, Maul, but I won't let myself become consumed by it.
And that is precisely why I chose you for this task. You have a strong will and a pure heart, which will make it easier for you to balance the light and dark within you. Remember, we are not Jedi or Sith. We are something in between. Something stronger. If it puts you at ease, the Republic would likely give this particular man the death penalty if they ever caught him.
Ahsoka hesitated for a moment, feeling the weight of the task Maul had given her, but she knew what was at stake, and she knew that she couldn't back down now. Ahsoka looked at him, then nodded.
Then you will need a weapon.
With a quick gesture, Maul summoned a box made from textured wood. Opening it, he revealed 2 identical lightsabers, both with curved blade shrouds and a grip not dissimilar to Anakin's, but that narrowed in the switch section.
These sabers used to be one, the saber staff of Savage Opress. My brother. Until you have the time to remake your own, you may use these. Go now, Lady Tano.
As Ahsoka Tano left Mandalore, her mind was filled with doubt and uncertainty. She had made the decision to work with Maul in order to stop Darth Sidious' plan, but the thought of delving into the dark side of the Force made her uneasy. Despite her reservation, she knew that this was the only way to save her friends and stop the impending doom that Sidious had planned. As her ship approached Coruscant, Ahsoka knew that she had to be cautious. Level 1313 was a dangerous place, filled with criminals and gangs, as she knew from experience. She had to remain stealthy and avoid drawing attention to herself. Ahsoka had learned various techniques during her time as a Jedi, and she planned to use them to her advantage. She deactivated the ship's engines, allowing it to glide silently into the docking bay. Ahsoka stepped off the ship, her senses on high alert. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes, using the Force to sense any potential danger. She felt the presence of several beings nearby, but none seemed to pose a threat. Ahsoka made her way through the dimly lit corridors. Her footsteps soft and silent, she kept to the shadows, avoiding any areas with too much light. She didn't want to draw attention to herself, and the darkness provided her with the perfect cover. As she approached a crowded area, Ahsoka slowed her pace. She knew that the key to being stealthy here was to blend in with the crowd. She adjusted her hood, making sure to keep her face hidden. She watched the movements of the beings around her, carefully avoiding any eye contact. A group of drunken thugs stumbled past her, their laughter echoing through the corridors. Ahsoka felt a sudden surge of fear, but she remained calm. She focused on her breathing, letting the fear flow through her and out the other side. The thugs didn't even notice her, and soon they were gone. Ahsoka finally reached the entrance to level 1313, and she could feel the tension in the air. This was a dangerous place, but she had a job to do. She took a deep breath and stepped through the entrance. The darkness of the level enveloped her, but Ahsoka was prepared. She pulled out her lightsabers, the blades glowing brightly in the darkness. She kept her movements fluid, moving quickly and silently through the shadows. She used the Force to sense any danger ahead, and she was able to avoid any potential threats. Ahsoka's heart pounded as she navigated the winding corridors of Coruscant's level 1313, her steps as silent as a shadow. The once bustling streets had been reduced to a labyrinthine maze, filled with debris and the remnants of a war-torn past. The desolate surroundings reminded her of the time she spent on the run, after being falsely accused of that crime she didn't commit. Memories of that harrowing experience flashed before her mind's eye, but she pushed them away, focusing on the task at hand. She had to find the debt collector, Pintu Sonel. As she approached the target's location, Ahsoka's grip tightened around her lightsabers. She had trained her entire life to be a Jedi, to uphold the principles of peace and justice, but now she was about to do the unthinkable for her. Take a life in cold blood. She followed her target, her eyes on him like a hawk. Pintu Sonel, a notorious debt collector, stood outside of the rundown apartment building flanked by his enforcers. He banged on the door, demanding payment from the occupants inside. The family huddled together, afraid to make a sound. Pintu had eyes and ears everywhere, and he knew they were inside. With a loud crash, the door finally gave way, and Pintu barged in, his enforcers close behind. Ahsoka jumped onto a platform and stood against the wall, hearing everything within through a window.
Desm, you're late on your payments.
Ahsoka huddled against the wall outside. She heard the father of the frightened family whimper before she heard the sound of bones cracking through the small room.
Please, we're just trying to get by.
That's not my problem. If you can't pay up, you'll face the consequences.
Ahsoka crouched in the shadows. Her body tensed with a mixture of anger and fear. She watched helplessly as Pintu the debt collector had forced Desm's family to hand over their hard-earned credits, steeling her heart against him. As Pintu and his henchmen swaggered out of the apartment building, Ahsoka saw the bloodstains on the enforcer's wrists, and with a fierce determination she followed them like a shadow. Her eyes focused on her target. The debt collector eventually returned to his office at an abandoned warehouse. The tension in the air was palpable for her as Ahsoka crept towards the building. The sounds of her footsteps echoed against the walls as she tried to keep her breathing steady. Her senses were heightened, her awareness at its peak, as she anticipated any potential danger. Pintu laid back as his enforcers went on patrol, scouting around the building. Ahsoka stealthily made her way past them and approached his office. As she entered the room, her eyes locked onto the target, Pintu Sonel. The man looked up at her, a smug expression on his face.
Well, well, well. What do we have here?
Ahsoka remained silent, her gaze steady as she braced herself for what was to come. She knew that the man before her was no innocent victim. He was a ruthless criminal who had made his fortune preying on the vulnerable. Pintu leaned back in his chair, a death stick clamped between his teeth.
You don't look like one of my usual clients, honey. What brings you to my humble abode?
I'm here to deliver a message.
Pintu's eyes widened in surprise, and then narrowed with suspicion.
And what kind of message would that be?
The kind that could only be delivered in regret.
The debt collector let out a deep chuckle, puffing smoke into the air.
Is that so? Well, you'll have to try harder than that to intimidate me, sweetheart.
Unfortunately, I will.
With a sudden burst of movement, Ahsoka sprang into action. The room erupted in a flurry of blaster fire and lightsaber strikes. The former Jedi was momentarily distracted by the sight of the red blades in her possession, not fully processing it earlier. Pintu's bodyguards rushed in to defend their boss, but Ahsoka was too quick for them. Her movements were fluid and graceful, her blades flashing through the air like streaks of lightning, yet she still struggled slightly to use the oversized hilts of the saber belonging to Maul's brother, a veritable giant. Pintu himself proved to be a formidable opponent, his massive frame and brutish strength nearly overwhelming Ahsoka, but she was determined to see the mission through, to deliver the message that Maul had entrusted to her. With a quick, decisive strike, she brought the debt collector to his knees. Literally. He shrieked in pain as he held his cauterized wrist, watching his severed hand drop to the ground with a thud. He tried to look behind him to see the rest. Pintu finally realized the gravity of his situation. After years of oppressing others, he was now the one pleading for his life.
Please, don't kill me! I'll do anything!
Ahsoka said nothing. Looking down, she felt guilt. Perhaps she could just allow the Republic to take him away. She could show the authorities the embezzlements, the illegal actions, the corruption this man has brought to level 1313, a place harmed enough. Or she could continue to follow Maul's task to an end, no matter what that conclusion may be. In this instance, it meant the end of Pintu Sonal. The image of the terrified family handing over their credits to Pintu flashed through her mind. She locked eyes with the terrified debt collector, glaring at him.
You want money? I got plenty of it! Please!
Suddenly, with a sharp jerk, Ahsoka slashed, not giving herself any further time to think about her potential choices and actions. A brief moment of silence accompanied the attack, hanging heavily in the air before a large thud shattered the illusion of peace. As Ahsoka breathed in shakily, Pintu's severed head simply rolled away. The only testament to the act she had committed, outside of the massive blubber that now sat in front of her. Ahsoka stared down at the shocked expression on Pintu's face, feeling nothing. It was as though she were watching a holofilm of herself. Ahsoka felt distant, separated from her emotions. She could see in front of her, but everything in her peripherals was dark. She stooped to pick up the still warm head of her unfortunate target. Ahsoka straightened. She had taken a ruthless debt collector off of the streets. He deserved it, she told herself. He was the enemy here, not her. He was the one hurting people. She had saved them. Swallowing the wave of emotion that threatened to overwhelm her, Ahsoka spun on her heel, disappearing into the shadows with the knowledge that this, unfortunately, was just the beginning. If she wanted a chance to stop Sidious and his plan, sacrifices needed to be made. Shoving Pintu's head into a bag, Ahsoka drew up her hood as she slipped into the alley silently. She reached her ship without incident, breathing a sigh of relief as she tossed the bag out of sight. If she didn't see it, Ahsoka was sure it wouldn't affect her. Out of sight, out of mind. For the most part, she was correct. Any guilt she felt faded quickly as she told herself that it was necessary. That she had saved those people that Pintu was oppressing. Landing on Mandalore, Ahsoka entered the royal palace to find Maul lounging on his throne, completely at ease. Striding up to him, she threw the bag containing her victim's head at his feet, saying nothing as a cruel smile spread across the Zabrak's face.
Is it done?
See for yourself.
Maul raised an eyebrow, but obliged. He stepped lightly toward her gift, chuckling darkly at the sight that greeted him within the bag.
Well done. Follow me. Your training has now begun.
The two walked side by side, a sinister partnership having been formed. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, the Jedi Council discussed the recent events involving the massacre on Dathomir and Darth Maul's disappearance.
We've been unable to locate Maul these last few weeks, though we do know that Olmec is still operating as the puppet leader of the Shadow Collective.
Well, he has to be hiding somewhere.
Find him, we will. Patient we must be.
There has been some new intelligence regarding his activities on Mandalore, however.
Mandalore?
There has been strange behavior from some members of the Death Watch occupation. It seems that much of the Shadow Collective is regrouping elsewhere to detract from Mandalore itself.
A conspiracy, you believe?
I understand your concern, but I do not believe the Chancellor would authorize a siege on Mandalore without due cause, especially without separatist activity on the planet.
We need to at least investigate.
I agree. Our intelligence isn't satisfactory. Maul is taking steps to conceal his intentions.
Ever more clouded, the Force is. Reliant on hearsay, we are.
It is unfortunate that we...
Rex, I'm with the Council. Is something wrong?
General Skywalker, there's been an incident on level 1313. A known criminal has been found decapitated and surrounded by the bodies of what seem to be the enforcers. They were killed with lightsabers.
I'll be there soon. Don't allow the scene to be contaminated any further.
Yes, sir.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Where are we going?
How aware are you of the Mandalorian traditions and culture?
Not as much as I should be. The Jedi archives hold a lot of knowledge, but they're incomplete in some respects. Most of what I know is from the ancient traditions, or the Mandalorian Wars.
Then are you aware of the Mines of Mandalore?
The mines?
I am not surprised in the least that such information would be absent from that database. Yes, the Mines of Mandalore, hidden below this very city.
I don't understand why the Mandalorians follow you. Your ideals. They don't seem to be a great fit for them.
Is that an accusation? Have I not allowed this city, this planet, to prosper in its neutrality?
When Satine ruled, this planet had a heart. You've darkened it, Maul.
So you say. Yet the Mandalorians are loyal, Lady Tano. Don't you see many of the Mandalorians, even beyond those like Saxon and the Prime Minister, know that the freedom they would have greater bounds within my rule, rather than, say, the Galactic Republics?
As if.
You fail to see the bigger picture, Lady Tano. Mandalore has the right to make its own choices. Abiding by a government such as the Republic, so corrupt and bloated, so righteous in its failure, you may as well poison your people yourself. Not that I am, mind you.
The Republic may not be perfect, but it stood for thousands of years and brought peace and prosperity to hundreds of planets.
And as a consequence, it has lost its ability to change. There is a reason that my master was able to assert himself over the most powerful governing body in the galaxy. Because the people and their representatives are equally tired of a government which fails in its ability. Your master, for instance, what do you think could have been if the Republic had delivered on its promise and eliminated slavery? How prosperous could Ryloth be if its senator was not corrupt and neglectful? Perhaps the Republic was once a bastion of the ideals you Jedi hold so dear, but it has fallen, and its stagnation has led to the suffering which now fuels my master, myself, and to a point, you. If it had changed, perhaps we would not have been tools for greater powers, and cast aside, as we were.
Ahsoka walked in silence for a moment. She had heard similar concerns expressed widely, not just by her master, but by Padme and Obi-Wan, and others. It was apparently why Dooku had left in the first place as well. Ahsoka didn't think about it for much longer, however, as she and Maul entered a massive cavern with an expansive pool at the bottom.
The Mines of Mandalore and the Living Waters, sacred to their warriors, it is said that the waters are part of a shifting aquifer, stable and providing a constant supply of mineralized water with the trace elements needed to forge Beskar properly. The secret of Mandalore, Lady Tano, something most precious to these people, one that not even the Republic is aware about.
This place is beautiful.
Only until the Republic takes hold of it and it becomes nothing more than another resource to be pillaged.
But how can you be sure that will happen, Maul?
Because it will, it has happened before. Now, enough philosophizing for today, Lady Tano. Here I will continue your training. Here you will learn of the dark and the light, and you will learn of, even become a part of, Mandalore. Your first lesson will be simple. The Mandalorians, they never make weapons of Beskar, only tools and armor.
Maul stretched out his hands and summoned a metal rod to his hand. From Maul's words, she assumed that he'd brought it here earlier and that it was made out of Beskar.
This is not a weapon, though it can be used as such.
Maul tossed Ahsoka the rod.
Alright, but what is it for?
Maul drew the darksaber and rushed Ahsoka, who nearly panicked, but still managed to raise the rod out of habit in order to defend herself. It worked, but she was forced back due to her inexperience with such a dense tool.
To prevent you from dying, of course. The lightsaber behaves with weight through the machinations of the Force in your own emotional state. It would not do for my apprentice to find her blade too heavy should she experience unexpected fear.
Maul disengaged from Ahsoka and deactivated his blade before reaching for a rod of his own.
You rely on agility as a fighter, and you are competent as one, but you must diversify your skills. You must learn to be pragmatic and determined, else you will meet with defeat. Adapt to the weight, strengthen yourself, and once you are spent, we will move on.
Alright, show me what you got.
What he's got was a lot. The two combatants fought in irregular, but about 7-minute bouts, with Maul at a distinct advantage at the start. Ahsoka quickly caught up to him, though. While she was still inferior to him in skill simply due to time, that did not prevent her from winning some of their rounds. After 2 hours of bruising, the two placed their rods to the side. They took 10 minutes to regain their breaths.
Alright, I wasn't expecting that.
Good. Then your mind is open, and you will learn.
What now?
Why did you hesitate to kill the debt collector?
Better question. Why wouldn't I?
Deflecting will get you nowhere, though I suppose it is expected considering your upbringing. Answer the question.
Because killing in cold blood is just cruel and wrong. I admit it's not something I expect a Sith to understand.
There have been Sith who abstain from it. That begs the question. Did you kill in cold blood?
What?
Were you especially cruel? Did you cause undue pain? Did you show no emotion? No. You struggled with it.
Yes.
That is not cold-blooded.
No,
It is not evil, it is efficient. Your emotions are a part of you. Do not ignore them, let them strengthen you. You need not be callous to be pragmatic.
Ahsoka was silent as she warred within herself. Her Jedi upbringing clashed in turn with Maul's words and her own disappointment in the Republic and the Jedi.
Which brings us to our next lesson. Using your emotions within the Force. Emotion can drive one's power beyond the teachings of the Order, but even then you cannot simply claim you are not a Jedi because you have committed a murder out of anger, out of desire, even. Of course, you could simply claim that this was in the name of peace and balance, but no. A Jedi's conviction that they did no wrong is nothing more than a sad rationalization. That is why Sith such as my master embraced the dark side from the very beginning, for the very acquisition of power as power. There is no justification for the actions. There is no motivation that makes them right. There is only power.
But the Force flows through all of us. It binds the universe together, connects us. Immerse yourself in its flow, and the power and fate necessary for the health of the galaxy will come to pass.
And how many times has your inability to immerse yourself led to the deaths of someone you could have saved?
Ahsoka thought back to Stila Guerrera. If she'd only been slightly stronger, slightly faster, the brave rebel would have survived. She thought about every clone, every soldier, and every civilian who had died next to her.
The Force is far more fickle than the Jedi believe. They train you to be content to die, even as a child, even as they sow the seeds of hatred and distrust against them. You know that on dozens of planets the Jedi are still viewed as child kidnappers, and are distrusted, despised.
Unfortunately, I do, but the Jedi don't do that.
Anymore. How many of your greatest ancient members were accepted into the Order over age? How many of your greatest current members still are? How many on the Council? Your master, even.
I see your point.
So now that your mind is open to possibility, we can continue.
Meanwhile, in another part of the galaxy, Anakin Skywalker stood in the doorway of his wife, Padme Amidala's room.
So this Pinto Sonel, could he have been killed by Ventress?
I doubt that. He didn't have a bounty on him, and she's currently elsewhere.
So, some madman is running around with 2 lightsabers on Coruscant?
Looks like it. They're pretty short by the look of the angles on the strikes. Maybe about
About what?
Ahsoka's size.
I know you miss her. You need to talk about it.
Well,
Anakin's holo communicator beeped before he gave Padme a sad look and went over to the corner.
Anakin, are you there?
Yes. What is it, Obi-Wan?
You should come down to level 1313. The Security Bureau has finally gained access to the nearby street holo recorders.
Took them long enough. I'll be there soon.
Anakin turned to look at Padme, obviously disappointed at being cut off.
Don't worry. Just go. It's important.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Padme.
An hour later, Anakin Skywalker reconvened with Captain Rex and met Obi-Wan Kenobi at a sleazy security office.
Yeah, see? I told you the tapes would be here. I'm a busy man, Jedi.
We expected these over a day ago, Sergeant.
Our patience was beginning to wear thin.
Lou, as a bonus for the wait, I can tell you that I knew Pinto personally, and he wanted the extra security. Guy was always paranoid someone was gonna off him. Besides, I only do what they pay me to do, and what they pay me to do is too much.
I do hope your association didn't affect the thoroughness of your work.
Or the size of your paycheck.
Is that an accusation? Jedi, here's your stupid tape.
Play it for us.
Okay.
The security officer took the tape and placed it into the entry port of the holoprojector. The image started in real time.
So here's Mr. Pinto, doing his daily routine.
Can you find the exact moment of his death?
The officer nodded before speeding up the image. The images would go in rotation to show the exterior angles of Pinto's warehouse, the patrols, and then return to Pinto's office where he was smoking death sticks. During the third rotation, Obi-Wan spotted a figure moving quickly.
Pause it. Right there.
The figure was colored white from the diffracted holoscan, and was too dim to get a good outline on.
There's our assassin. Looks like they must have known about the camera system and its capability. Continue.
The camera continued its rotation before it went into Pinto's office. Pinto looked up at a figure who was offset from the camera's field of view.
He seemed surprised, but not too frightened. Our assassin seems very intelligent.
The rotation continued.
Move it forward.
At Anakin's request, they went to the next 30-second cycle of Pintu's office. He was on his knees, holding his wrist. They couldn't make out the figure who was below the camera's field of vision.
The assassin is talking with him.
Suddenly, they caught wind of a blade going into his neck before his body slowly slumped to the side.
Rewind to the exact moment when the assassin struck.
Obi-Wan squinted as they saw the arm and blade of the assassin. The assassin wore white robes, however, their arm that came into view was gloved, but the blade was red and the hilt was oddly familiar.
I actually remember that weapon.
Obi-Wan crossed his arms.
The Shadow Collective must have ordered the strike. What's more, that is the hilt of Savage Opress. Maul is finally showing his hand.
I hate Savage.
They stared at the screen, at the white figure and the freeze frame of Pintu's death. The Jedi Council was dealing with a Sith assassin under the employ of Darth Maul. Was Savage Opress alive?
In the weeks after Pintu's murder, the Jedi Council initiated an extensive investigation into the intricate web of the Shadow Collective and the activities of Darth Maul. Obi-Wan Kenobi, accompanied by Anakin Skywalker, delved into the unsettling task of shedding light on the unscrupulous actions that all traced back to Mandalore. Frustratingly, the only leads they had were grainy holo recordings and largely less than detailed descriptions, which gradually unveiled the identity of this mysterious assassin.
It seems we can definitively eliminate Savage as the perpetrator. All of the accounts we have show the attacker as being far too small in stature to ever match him.
There's less to go on than I'd like. What's your take on this, Master?
Certainly someone with Force sensitivity, perhaps connected to the dark side.
And Savage? What happened to him?
His striking lack of activity is uncharacteristic. Even if Maul tempered his apparent impulsivity, he's missing at least, even deceased. But we need to delve deeper into this.
Well, we better.
Anakin, is something bothering you?
Something just doesn't sit right with me.
Does it not?
It's a feeling. I feel conflicted in a way. Connected and distant at the same time.
I felt it too, Anakin. Maul has brought something new to the field. Something we're yet to fully comprehend.
It's not about Maul. Well, maybe it is. But it's also not.
And what is it, truly?
Ahsoka! She could be aiding us right now.
Ahsoka made her choice to leave. She's a civilian now, and we must respect that.
But she could help us.
Ahsoka has chosen her path. We must respect her decision.
Then why does this feel like it has something to do with her?
Anakin grappled with a deep sadness and a whirlwind of emotions that stirred within. Ahsoka's departure had left him feeling empty and isolated. Her absence was hard to accept, as he had grown used to her constant presence. The void she left behind cast a shadow on Anakin's spirit, making acceptance elusive. The thought of Ahsoka had dwelled so much within his mind, as if the Force was beckoning him.
Hey Snips, what do you think? Snips, good thought, but not exactly what we were looking for. Ahsoka! Snips, come on! Ahsoka!
In truth, he simply wished she was there by his side as his mind warred with itself. Meanwhile, Ahsoka Tano had returned to Mandalore after another mission. Maul had tasked Ahsoka with the grim duty of terminating those who opposed the Shadow Collective. Informants, associates, and traitors who had second thoughts after the Dooku incident. Ahsoka had become a tool for Maul to reassert his dominance among the syndicates. The sight of the young Togruta dispatching each target conveyed Maul's ruthless authority to the crime lords with extreme clarity. For Maul, it was merely a matter of putting things in order. However, for Ahsoka, it meant teetering dangerously close to the dark side, even as she tried to justify it in her own head. Despite her reluctance toward killing, Maul persistently manipulated Ahsoka, arguing that her actions held significance. He spun each mission in just the right way to move it away from dark and into gray. And after fighting in a war for so long, Ahsoka's gray area had grown far greater than she had even realized. The individuals targeted by Ahsoka had, at some point, played a role in the war. Suppliers of drug caches, weaponmongers dealing in inhumane purchases, providers of manipulated intel that led to crossfires, and more. In Ahsoka's mind, she believed she was accomplishing what Anakin, the Jedi Order, and the Republic could not. She was cutting to the chase, or at least she buried any feelings to the contrary. Unfettered by politics and the Jedi Code, she resolved to eliminate her enemies swiftly. Maul lounged on his throne. His plan was slowly coming to fruition, but he knew that he had to push Ahsoka even further. Through his sources, he had become aware of the Jedi Order's investigation into his little assassin. It would only be a matter of time before they uncovered their identity. A time that needed to be right. As he thought, Ahsoka entered the throne room. Unlike Sidious, Maul treated her as more of a partner, an apprentice of his trade, not just a pawn or a tool for his ego. Sure, a pawn in his game, but there would be no kneeling beyond him, and no prostration. Maul had impressed upon her to always stand in front of those who did not deserve respect, regardless of hierarchy. She never knelt, and rarely sat.
Maul.
Lady Tano.
Lord Krim got the message.
Excellent. Those beneath me must understand the consequences of overstepping. Our underlings may be our largest allies, but within an organization such as this, boundaries must be enforced with prejudice. Let no stone be out of place. You have done remarkably well, Lady Tano. I believe you are ready for what I can say will be your most challenging task yet.
What about Anakin? You
promised you that Anakin would understand fully what my master has in store. That we would prevent him from falling under his control. Yes, in due time. Now, this task will show the results of your training beyond dealing with scum and villainy as you have been, and will be a crucial piece in bringing your master to us.
What is it?
With each head you bring me, the thought of your past boils in your mind. That echo in your heart, Lady Tano, it must be crushed. I sense the anger and anguish within you, and it must be given focus. I understand your mind, and now is the time to rectify those grievances, so to speak. You've shared with me the tale of the Jedi who wronged you. Barris Offee. A supposed friendship, a bond which evolved into nothing more than a mere pretext to cast you into the abyss, Lady Tano. The mere thought of this Padawan festers in your mind like a blade, searing your insides. It's ironic, isn't it? Her adherence to the dogmas of the Order and her criticism of the Clone Wars only served to expose the flaws of the Jedi even further. You were framed, wronged, shamed by a friend who was no more than a hypocrite.
No!
Yes!
No. They didn't listen to me. They didn't care.
Yes, they dismissed your accomplishments, your achievements in the war. It didn't matter. When all evidence pointed to you, no one questioned it. Guilty until proven innocent, all to appease the mob of public opinion. Oh, Lady Tano, a mockery of justice. And it was all to underscore the point that the Jedi Order was a legion of fools. Anyone with eyes could see that. Yet one lone Jedi resorted to spilling blood to drive that undeniable truth into their blinded minds.
No. She used me. She betrayed me. I was her friend.
You took the fall unwillingly. Oh, we have been through this discussion time and time again. Who believed you, Lady Tano? You can move forward. I am giving you the opportunity to kill the one who wronged you. Cut her throat and return.
Yes, Maul.
The Jedi is being transferred to a maximum security prison, Narkina 5. And, Lady Tano, do not forget that it was you on trial, facing the threat of execution. Barris Offee, the true culprit, a mass murderer, served to them on a chromium platter. Every bit of evidence clear, and she was caught red-handed. To be given a life sentence after your execution had already been approved. The hypocrisy of the Republic, the complacency of the Jedi Order, the fickleness of people, all laid bare for everyone to witness with thunderous applause.
Ahsoka took a deep breath as she left Maul's throne room and walked toward her ship, the weight of Barris Offee's betrayal heavy within her mind. For the first time, she felt a dark satisfaction in the idea of committing an act of murder. A long-awaited retribution against the one who wronged her, the one that sent her down all these paths. As Ahsoka neared the fulcrum of light and dark, Obi-Wan and Anakin's investigation tightened its grip. A Republic informant within the Syndicate had passed information to Kenobi that the assassin had struck against one of Marg Krim's top lieutenants, causing chaos within Krim's ranks.
Master Yoda, the source suggests Marg Krim might know the assassin's identity.
Fearful of Maul's wrath, he is.
It's a possibility.
Troubles you, something does.
Anakin, lately, he seems troubled. More than just missing Ahsoka. Master, after reviewing the evidence, I think Anakin's fears might be right. There's a chance.
The assassin, Ahsoka Tano, may be.
The descriptions, the hollow recordings we have, are we sure?
Sure? No. Rarely can we be sure on such evidence, but remiss we would be if ignore Skywalker's connection to the Force and intuition in this matter.
What do you think, Master?
Fallen Ahsoka may have. Manipulated through the dark side, Maul has succeeded.
What would Maul want with Ahsoka?
A dark purpose. Betrayed and broken by the Jedi Order, Ahsoka believes she was. Wrong, she may not be. A great advantage for Maul, that is.
Anakin has been trying to avoid this potential reality. I've never seen him so conflicted or so closed off from the Force. I can sense that it has been speaking to him strongly.
The Force tells the truth it does. Anakin, ignore the harsh truth. He will continue to. Revealed, in time, Ahsoka's fate will be. Hope I do, that misplaced our concern is. Connections to Ahsoka you must follow, but subtle Maul would be.
The prisoner transfer of Padawan Offee.
Oversee you must. Follow the signs. Keep an eye on the crime syndicates, we will.
And Anakin?
On some level. Knows already he does. Force that confrontation you should not. Deny it you should not. Break him it could. If necessary, save him from his own darkness you must. If Skywalker begins to waver, a source of comfort you must be. Loyal to his friend Skywalker is. Reciprocate as only you can you must.
The stormy night on Narkina 5 provided an ominous backdrop as Ahsoka maneuvered toward the hexagonal prison. Her ship skillfully avoided detection by Republic sensors, descending rapidly through the humid atmosphere as she jumped down. Her silhouette merged seamlessly with the falling raindrops, a ghostly presence against the tempestuous sky. Above, clone troopers patrolled the upper pylon, unaware of her discreet approach. Her cloak billowed against the gusty wind. The air was heavy with tension, mirroring the turmoil within her. Raindrops lashed against her nostrils, a rhythmic cadence echoing the uncertainty that hung in the air. Ahsoka waited patiently near the landing zone, her eyes fixed on the distant horizon, searching for the telltale lights of the incoming ship, a gray consular-class transport. The glow of the landing lights cut through the darkness as the transport descended through the stormy clouds. The hum of the engines mingled with the howling wind, creating a symphony of disquiet. As the ship touched down, Ahsoka's senses heightened. She stood in the shadows, a silent observer of the unfolding events. The air crackled with the energy of the storm, and the occasional flash of lightning illuminated her focused expression. Hooded and cloaked clone troopers emerged from the ship, their armor and raincoats glistening in the rain. Between them walked a restrained figure, the prisoner, Barris Offee. Ahsoka's eyes locked onto Barris, a surge of conflicting emotions washing over her. The memories of their shared past, the betrayal, and the subsequent trial flooded her thoughts. Barris Offee remained silent, her head held high as she trailed behind the clone troopers. The familiar Jedi attire she once wore had been replaced by a plain white and orange jumpsuit. She appeared indifferent to her surroundings, seemingly content with the consequences of her actions. Ahsoka, observing from the shadows, couldn't shake the feeling of Barris's sentence. The notion that she would endure a lifetime of confinement felt like a falsehood, especially considering the Republic's initial intent to execute Ahsoka on the spot. To Ahsoka, Barris Offee deserved the same fate as her victims, and she would be the one brave enough to make it a reality. She would be the harbinger of that justice. Ahsoka moved in with a fluid grace, blending seamlessly into the shadows. Stealth was her ally, and she observed from the sidelines as the clone troopers escorted Barris toward the prison entrance. The bright white lights of the hallway cast an eerie glow on the scene as the party approached. Suddenly, like a shadow emerging from the depths of the storm, Ahsoka ignited her lightsabers and lunged forward, her blades dancing through the air, aimed to strike Barris. Trails of azure light cut through the rain-soaked darkness. In that pivotal moment, seemingly inconspicuous clone troopers, shrouded in raincoats, unveiled their true identities. Anakin and Obi-Wan, orchestrating a meticulously laid trap. Ahsoka was caught off guard as Anakin blocked her strike. Anakin engaged the assassin as the rooftop transformed into a battleground, the clash of lightsabers echoing, the rhythmic hums resonating against the lightning strikes, creating an intense cacophony. Ahsoka's identity remained an enigma beneath her cloaked hood, a mysterious figure dancing through the torrents with unparalleled ease. Seizing a fleeting chance, Barris used the distraction to her advantage. With a forceful shove, she pushed a clone trooper off the catwalk, carving a swift path for her escape. Several troopers fired at Ahsoka while she blocked their shots.
Hold your fire!
The distraction gave Ahsoka the opportunity to force push Anakin into Obi-Wan and back several feet, sending them sprawling. She looked toward Barris before she began to run in her direction. She charged Barris with agile strides, her silhouette flickering in and out of the dimly lit surroundings. Anakin and Obi-Wan got up quickly as Ahsoka cut through several clone troopers who attempted to stop her. As they tried to keep pace, the relentless rain and treacherous pathways of the prison rooftop made it difficult for Anakin and Obi-Wan. The rain, now a torrential downpour, was becoming more of a battle in itself. Obi-Wan stopped.
I'm going to head around and block their path. Keep on them, Anakin. First Camino, now this.
As Anakin closed in, Obi-Wan veered around another pathway. Ahsoka, swiftly closing the distance, leapt onto Barris. The two tumbled off the slippery catwalk, landing on a flat surface below. Barris quickly pulled herself back up, locking eyes with Ahsoka, whose hood had fallen down. Ahsoka came face to face with Barris, standing in the rain-soaked atmosphere, lightsabers humming in anticipation. The air crackled with tension as the two former allies locked eyes. A moment of hesitation hung in the balance. As raindrops rolled down Ahsoka's face, mirroring tears, as she stared at Barris. Barris, seemingly indifferent, stared back with a stoic resolve. Her mouth began to quiver, into a smile, as she began to laugh.
You won't do it, Ahsoka. The Jedi won't let you. This isn't the Jedi way. That is what you wanted, right? To be the symbol of the Order.
Ahsoka tilted her head, her expression apparent, before she looked at her stoically.
No. You are wrong, Barris. I am no Jedi.
Barris's laughter, once mocking, now faltered into an uneasy silence. The realization dawned on her, fear flickering in her eyes as she beheld what Ahsoka had become, what she had created. Barris realized her hypocrisy as the shadow of war fell over Ahsoka's face, her new identity cementing itself. She was no longer blinded by the veil of the Jedi. In an instant, Ahsoka's lightsaber ignited with a vivid red glow, cutting through the tension and the rain. With a swift and deliberate motion, Ahsoka brought the blade down, severing the connection between them. Barris crumpled to the rain-soaked surface below, lifeless.
Ahsoka!
Ahsoka turned, revealing her face to Anakin. Anakin froze, his eyes widening, as the two former allies locked eyes. Anakin, his expression torn between disbelief and pain, tried to process the reality before him.
Ahsoka.
Unexpectedly, a presence emerged behind her. Obi-Wan, drenched from the rain, approached with measured steps.
Ahsoka, we can find another way. This violence need not continue.
Ahsoka, her gaze fixed on the horizon, hesitated. Obi-Wan's words echoed in the rain-soaked silence. The mentor who had guided her through countless trials She felt Anakin's presence, her master, her teacher, her friend. For a moment, the storm seemed to subside.
Stop this! Don't go any further!
I can't go back, Obi-Wan.
Ahsoka, without a word, leapt off the rooftop into the sea of Narkina 5. Anakin and Obi-Wan watched as the water swallowed her form, her shuttle automatically flying to retrieve her. The Jedi watched as the darkened silhouette of their old friend emerged from the sea and the ship disappeared into the darkness of Narkina 5. Obi-Wan, his expression a mix of concern and understanding, sighed. The storm began to disappear as dawn approached. Anakin looked at the coming sun. His heart weighed down.
Barris Offee's death and the revelation that Ahsoka Tano was Maul's assassin threw the Jedi Council into an uproar. The council chambers were filled with raised voices debating with each other, with each Jedi contributing their perspective on Ahsoka's betrayal. Mace Windu advocated for caution and suggested that Ahsoka had succumbed fully to the influence of the dark side. She would not be the first Jedi to fall to it in war. And it was remarkable that more hadn't in this one. Opposite him, Master Plo Koon expressed a lingering trust in Ahsoka. He urged the council to consider that she was being manipulated and could be convinced to return. If they could only figure out how Maul had gained her service in the first place. Yoda, the venerable Grand Master, listened in silence, his ancient eyes closed as he contemplated the delicate threads of the Force. As the counselors debated, divisions emerged, reflecting the fractures within the Order. Some believed Ahsoka had betrayed not only the Jedi, but the Republic itself. Others remained steadfast in their belief that Maul's dark machinations were at play, but few considered the role they may have played in this tragedy.
We cannot afford to be naive. Ahsoka Tano has turned. Simply put, she has betrayed the Jedi Order and contravened the order and judgment of law.
Laws which failed her, an order which failed her. Master Windu, I helped train Ahsoka. As strong as she is in the Force, she's only a child who was forced to grow up too quickly, even for a Jedi. She is of this temple. We can't dismiss her as lost without understanding the full picture.
Do not let your attachments blind you, Master Kenobi. We are at war. We can't afford to be sentimental. The evidence is clear. She has infiltrated Republic installations and murdered civilians, be them criminals or not. What more do we need to see?
Maul is a master of deceit. He manipulated the Death Watch into doing his bidding and gained a grasp over many others. We need to consider the possibility that Ahsoka has not only her own motivations, but might be a pawn in his game.
I agree. We've seen Maul operate the Shadow Collective, pulling strings within the underworld. It's not beyond him to use Ahsoka for his own ends. Perhaps we have failed her.
Her choices after she chose to leave the Order are her own. You cannot call an ex-Jedi's choice to commit murder a failure on the Jedi Order's part. What if she willingly joined Maul, as retribution for what happened with the hangar bombings? What then?
We owe it to Ahsoka to find out the truth before passing judgment. She deserves that much from us. She deserved that much from us. We left her to a military trial where she was nearly executed for false evidence. We are all aware of the consequences of the Republic's bloated bureaucracy. Her actions can be her own and linked to our own failure. But whatever the answer is, we must be right. Our failure already cost us one of the best Jedi I've ever known, and I will not allow that to be unaddressed.
The council continued its debate before Anakin Skywalker entered.
We need to find Ahsoka.
Skywalker, invited to this meeting. You were not.
Maul needs to be stopped. We can't let him use her.
Obi-Wan gave Anakin a look of sympathy as he sighed. The other Jedi Masters glanced at each other with expressions ranging from annoyance to grief.
We will call you when you are required. Out of respect for your former Padawan and yourself, we will not move forward with any decision without allowing you the chance to speak.
Bo-Katan Kryze, the formidable leader of the Mandalorian rebels, had been strongly urging the Republic to grant assistance for a siege against Maul and Mandalore. When news broke about the assassination of Barris Offee, she finally found purchase. Palpatine had positioned the attack as a politically motivated statement against the Clone War. As a result of Maul's assassin killing the high-profile prisoner, he offered to give the green light for the operation on Mandalore if the Jedi Council approved. Of course, for Darth Sidious, it was a convenient way to finally deal with the pest that was his former apprentice. But the potential Republic involvement in the Mandalorian situation raised concerns with the Council, with some thinking the Senate might still view Mandalore as a neutral territory, and others worried that their occupation wouldn't go far enough. This topic became a central point of discussion among the Jedi and was unfortunately inexorably intertwined with the issue of Ahsoka. Hours of discussion passed before Obi-Wan left the council chambers and met with Anakin.
Anakin?
Obi-Wan, are we going to find Ahsoka?
Yes, but it's not overly straightforward. A siege of Mandalore would allow us to attempt to find Ahsoka and also deal with Maul. But the Council believes it would be best to continue with Palpatine's initial strategy of pushing our sieges into the Outer Rim before dedicating a force towards Mandalore. The Separatists still take priority.
As long as Maul is in control, Mandalore is a threat, and Ahsoka is in danger. The longer we wait, the more time he has to corrupt her. We need to mobilize now.
The Council does not disagree, but now is not the time. With the scale the war is at now, we don't have the proper resources. The Jedi and the clone army are both spread thin.
Anakin felt a quiet rage beginning to churn inside him.
If they won't do it, I will. I can talk to the Chancellor. Get him to approve it.
The Chancellor's approval is not at issue. It's the Council's imperative in this matter. Anakin, don't be rash. Even if you have the Chancellor unilaterally approve a siege, you will be endangering lives that have fallen under the Separatists' heel.
I don't care. I won't leave her.
Anakin left Obi-Wan in the hallway as he remembered Ahsoka murdering Barris in cold blood. It played over and over again in his head. The thought in his mind itched. If Ahsoka was the first, who was to say there wouldn't be others in Maul's hands? Ahsoka was frightened. She must feel abandoned. She had to. He had let her down. Anakin left the Jedi Temple and began to head toward the Senate to seek an audience with Palpatine. He needed to find a way to lead an assault himself.
I understand your perspective, my boy. Unfortunately, Ahsoka Tano is just another casualty of this dreadful war. One Jedi and a Force user playing at being a Sith cannot take priority.
Please, Chancellor. I can help her. I can bring the 501st down in a tandem attack with the rebel forces. We can go in and take Mandalore quickly. It likely wouldn't take more than days. Maul wouldn't see it coming. Think about it. Mandalore is suffering too. If you send me to another planet, you prolong their suffering just as much. The rescue of the former lead planet of the Council of Neutral Systems.
You make a good point, but others may not see it that way. The Council.
The Council wants to deal with Mandalore. Their loyalty to the Senate and the Outer Rim sieges is the only thing standing in the way.
Odd. I extended to them the resources for the Mandalorian siege, yet they decline.
But, sir...
They are under the purview of Senate approval, of course. It makes sense for the Council to place the plan of my committee above its own. I must adhere to their decision. After all, we cannot afford to divide our units without our Jedi generals at the forefront. That being said...
Chancellor, please. You could overrule the committee. Let me go to Mandalore.
I would be doing you a favor by acting on the contrary. In true Anakin, the Council harbors a fear of your former apprentice.
What?
Oh, indeed. Did you truly believe the Jedi hold genuine concern for the Mandalorians? Perhaps your comrade Master Kenobi?
owing to his connections with the late Duchess, but the others, no. The reality lies within Ahsoka herself. They fear her for what she symbolizes.
And what does she symbolize?
Their failures. Ahsoka Tano is a consequence, a product of the Council's errors and misguided judgment. Tano was cast aside, unjustly accused without a thorough investigation. And while I maintain a neutral stance in the matter, it was clear that the Council had already reached a decision.
The Council would save Ahsoka if they could.
So you say. Why spurn the advantageous opportunity I extend to them? Why divert their attention to other military endeavors?
Anakin's felt a sense of confusion. Was the Council truly thinking of themselves again? Just like when Ahsoka left their steps?
I do intend to heed Kreeg's plea and preserve what remains of Mandalore. But this task requires the collaboration of the Jedi Council. I am unwilling to allow a battalion without a Jedi commander to go into combat against a potential threat equivalent to one. Thus, I patiently await their approval. However, rest assured I make a solemn pledge. When the time comes, I will personally request the Jedi Council to appoint you to supervise the operation.
Anakin's confusion and disappointment turned to satisfaction.
I can also see that Ahsoka Tano has made difficult choices in her life. Her path entangled with the shadows of criminal endeavors, such as that of Maul and his Shadow Collective. But perhaps some leniency could still be found.
Oh, thank you, Chancellor.
Ahsoka Tano is a child after all. We must give her due process. We must be just as patient, but that fact we will keep amongst ourselves.
Shortly after this meeting, the Outer Rim siege is intensified, with Anakin at the helm of the Battle of Anaxes against Admiral Trench's offensive. Trench met his end at the hands of Skywalker, further weakening the Separatist chain of command. Skywalker fought with Ahsoka in mind, knowing that winning these battles was crucial to her rescue. It was her beacon of hope. It had to be. Mandalore loomed on the horizon, and Palpatine would uphold his promise to save her from execution. But subsequently, Skywalker and Kenobi were deployed to Yerbana. Several weeks drifted by, and then a month passed like fleeting moments. Ahsoka stood on a Mandalorian rooftop, her gaze fixed on the stars above through the domed city of Sundari. As she thought about Anakin, Padme, Obi-Wan, and her friends at the temple. These dark deeds may have led her astray slightly, but she believed that she had captured their attention and could convince them of Sidious's betrayal. She eagerly awaited for Anakin and Captain Rex to take back Mandalore. But the moment was abruptly shattered by a chorus of distant screams reverberating through her mind like the haunting echoes of the Mines of Mandalore. A sense of unease gripped her, prompting her to hastily make her way toward the heart of the city. Maul paced in front of his throne. He had sacrificed much of the time he had for preparation in order to effectively train his new apprentice. His master had already sealed the fate of the One. Only the relentless march of time separated them from the inevitable collapse of the Republic. He knew with an almost preternatural certainty that his master's new apprentice would emerge into the galaxy's chaos sooner or later. The only question that remained was a matter of when. Ahsoka reached Maul's throne room after a short walk back. She felt Maul's fear within him. Something was wrong. Maul turned toward her.
Lady Tano.
Maul.
You should not be awake.
I did what you asked. Now we can alert Anakin and the Jedi about Palpatine's plot. We can stop him right here and now.
Yes, Sidious Skywalker, your former master. The Jedi Kenobi. Have you sensed it?
What is it?
That disturbance gnawing at your mind as of late. I heard everything meticulously planned out. It was so clear. The assassination was executed with perfect timing, and I anticipated it would take no more than a week for the Council to authorize the siege and summon Skywalker here. But, Lady Tano, that never happened. It's been 4 weeks, and the Council has yet to act.
What does that mean?
It means everything, Lady Tano. My master has succeeded in sealing the fate of Skywalker.
That's impossible. We set everything right. This isn't...
The cries persist, even within the deafening shadows of the dark side. I hear their screams, their dread, the approach of misery and death. The Jedi will succumb, one by one.
What else do you know?
Not long ago, an informant divulged to me the orchestration of a siege on Coruscant, devised by my master and Count Dooku. It all falls into place now. Dooku, he and I, one step behind, always. He has served his purpose, and... Why did I not see this? Dooku had become expendable at that juncture, Lady Tano. It was all a ruse. Skywalker dispatched Dooku, and thus the cycle continues.
What else happened?
I can only anticipate my master's grand design reaching fruition. I feel it. The demise of the Jedi Order. Your friends, Lady Tano, no longer exist. They have been extinguished at the hand of your master.
Anakin.
In due time they shall descend upon us, and especially upon you, Lady Tano. His hatred, meticulously cultivated, will surge with unparalleled power if my master can unravel his true potential.
What does this mean?
We have no choice. We must take hold of this opportunity and do nothing.
Nothing. Nothing? But you just said...
There is no time for questioning. Time now is a precious gift. We must use it wisely. Skywalker will undoubtedly possess formidable power, yet perhaps we can exploit his weakness. The question remains, will this place offer sanctuary for the time given?
Maul muttered to himself as his gaze fixated on Ahsoka. He recognized her potential as a valuable asset, a strategic advantage in the impending battle. A lure to bring Skywalker into his grasp, if he survived.
My loyal followers shall fortify our defenses. A Republic bombardment will not be sanctioned without the terms of surrender or a justifiable cause, not unless My master has changed the rules once more.
Tell me, what is going on? Stop being so cryptic.
We shall stand undeterred in the face of your former master. Come what may, Skywalker in due course will grace our doorstep, and we must be prepared. This plan, it has the potential to yield success.
Maul walked toward his throne, a shadow looming over his face, his eyes glowing in the darkness. Ahsoka struggled to come to terms with these claims, feeling a tremor in her heart. Was he telling her the truth? Was the Force showing him a vision or a lie? The harsh reality struck her once again, and she questioned if all of her efforts had been in vain. Had she taken those lives for nothing? The act of pushing Anakin forward, of making him see her, his shame. Did Ahsoka unknowingly contribute to pushing him toward the dark side, leading to the annihilation of the Jedi? The uncertainty loomed large. Was Anakin even alive?
Lady Tano, all of what you've known is gone. There is no point in mourning or feeling guilt. The galaxy as we know it is changing. The time of the Jedi has passed. Now, only together can you and I survive.
Ahsoka stood, her eyes locked onto Maul. She breathed slowly, a calmness enveloping her as, for the first time, she completely trusted his word. Weeks passed as the Republic's demise continued to shift the balance of power in the galaxy. The Jedi and their allies were branded as threats to the crumbling government, ultimately paving the way for Sidious to declare the birth of his new galactic empire. Meanwhile, Maul meticulously kept his informants close, ensuring a steady flow of updates. As Ahsoka secluded herself in her quarters, reflecting on her past life within the Jedi Temple, she couldn't shake her disbelief at their downfall. Yet a small part of her clung to the belief that Anakin couldn't be responsible, contradicting Maul's assertions, of course. Information regarding Skywalker remained scarce. Official records and recordings suggested his demise protecting younglings in the Jedi Temple. But Maul refused to accept it. He doubted that Kenobi and the Jedi of comparable skill could be so easily vanquished. The relentless stream of information, particularly the betrayal of the clone troopers orchestrated by Sidious, impressed Maul, solidifying his suspicions of the grand plan of his master. To him, it was brilliant. Eventually, Jedi Masters Kenobi and Yoda were marked as wanted, confirming Maul's fears. Dark thoughts gnawed at Maul's mind. He sensed an impending threat that even Sidious couldn't account for. Each day, the ominous feeling grew stronger, the Force warning him of danger. It wasn't Sidious, but something far more sinister. Something to be truly feared. A month passed before Prime Minister Almec arrived to deliver Maul's daily briefing, signaling the beginning of another day in the ever-darkening galaxy.
The Empire has requested you surrender. They claim you are holding this planet hostage and that they will liberate it with force.
The Empire... I suspected their arrival was imminent. No doubt Sidious plans to have this world transformed into yet another military stronghold. Its strategic position is far too valuable to abandon.
My lord, can we defend our planet against their forces?
Perhaps. Perhaps not. Does the Empire not wield the same power that the Republic once did? Any resistance we muster will be swiftly crushed. But I refuse to yield. Disregard their message, Prime Minister. We will never surrender.
Almec nodded and exited the throne room, leaving Maul to his contemplations. As he gazed out the window, he couldn't shake the feeling that his master was aware of his presence, perhaps of Ahsoka's presence as well. If Mandalore were to fall, so be it. Its dominion would crumble, Almec and the Mandalorians with it, yet in Maul's mind he harbored the certainty that he and Ahsoka were destined to escape. Their sanctuary burning as a sacrifice for their safety, sacrifice to a dark force, something new. Maul remained convinced that he alone possessed the power to defeat Sidious, and perhaps Skywalker if he still lived, but with each passing day that conviction waned, overshadowed by the relentless spread of the Empire's darkness across the galaxy. Ahsoka represented his lifeline. She must survive if there was any hope of vanquishing Sidious. It was not long before the fateful day arrived. A lone, gunmetal gray Venator-class Star Destroyer exited hyperspace over Mandalore. An Ada-class shuttle disembarked from the hangar bay, entering the atmosphere and approaching Sundari. Maul was informed by his super commandos of its imminent arrival.
Allow it to dock and act as instructed. If there is an immediate threat, my strategies must be followed.
The shuttle's party was greeted by Prime Minister Almec and a legion of Mandalorians. From the shuttle, a dark figure emerged, followed by 2 stormtroopers. Almec was taken aback by the approaching shadow. A droid? Or a royal guard?
Prime Minister, I presume.
Representative of the Empire, I humbly welcome you.
I request to meet with your leader, Maul.
I am afraid we are not aware of this individual. I am the Prime Minister and the voice of the Mandalorian people.
As Maul overheard the visitor's request, he began to feel uneasy. But then he spoke in Almec's ear.
Bring him to my throne room.
I will not tolerate games. Time is limited.
Of course. If you will follow me, then.
The Mandalorians trailed behind the man, keeping a cautious distance as he entered the throne room. The doors slid open, revealing the dark silhouette advancing toward the throne. Maul cocked his head, studying the figure before him, unable to discern their identity. Almec lingered nearby, his anxiety palpable. In her chamber, Ahsoka's heart raced with every echoing footstep. She could feel it in the Force, the cold, and something oddly familiar. The Mandalorians and Gar Saxon observed the newcomer, their reactions ranging from mild fear to skepticism. Maul rose to his feet, meeting the Imperial envoy eye to eye.
You are the one known as Maul.
Indeed. And you must be the representative of the so-called Emperor.
Maul's eye twitched, and his breathing slowed as he stared into the dark lenses of the envoy. Ahsoka shivered in her room, frightened. She was full of fear, hopelessness, and despair. She felt the pain, sorrow. She sensed him. Ahsoka stood quickly and made her way to the throne room.
Why have you come, envoy?
The Emperor demands Mandalore's surrender.
So I've heard. I am well aware of his intentions.
The envoy's mechanical breathing was deafening in the large throne room. It echoed as he eyed Maul.
I have come to ensure this order is carried out.
Maul couldn't discern his intentions. There was an unusual sensation, as if a cloak had been draped before him, obscuring the envoy's intentions in the Force.
Mandalore is not yours to claim, nor does it belong to your so-called Emperor.
Ahsoka stopped in the hallway, leaning against the wall as she listened in on their conversation.
There is another purpose.
Which is?
You will bring me the one known as Ahsoka Tano.
Maul's eyes opened wide. The utterance of the words opened the cloak. He sensed the rage, the anger, the pain, the onslaught of emotions coming from this enigmatic figure. A raw power beyond anything he sensed before. He slowly felt pushed back, freezing him with fear. Him, Maul, feeling fear, his longest ally, turned against him. Maul couldn't believe it. He breathed hard. He felt his heart beat. Ahsoka fell silent as the figure pointed to Maul.
You will surrender Mandalore and deliver Ahsoka Tano to me, or this city will be razed to the ground. Its citizens will suffer in Imperial fire.
Maul's rage mixed with fear engulfed his mind. He was blinded by ambition.
Then you will be disappointed. I remind you, Envoy, that you are the one who is surrounded.
The only thing I am surrounded by is fear, and fear is my ally.
Kill him!
The Mandalorian super commandos unleashed a barrage of blaster fire at the two stormtroopers and the Dark Warrior with swift reflexes. The warrior turned and employed the Force as his weapon, redirecting incoming shots back at the commandos. Igniting a crimson lightsaber, he deftly deflected blaster bolts, swiftly maneuvering to block incoming fire. Harnessing the power of the Force, the warrior pulled 3 commandos toward him. With calculated precision, he dispatched them one by one, slashing down one, severing the arm of another, and impaling the third. Though the stormtroopers fell quickly, the commandos continued to put up a fierce struggle against the warrior. Yet his mastery of the Force and skill with the lightsaber served an impenetrable shield, rendering their attacks futile. A commando launched a missile from his jetpack, aiming it at the warrior. With a swift motion, the warrior employed the Force, directing the projectile into a room filled by commandos. The explosion sent shockwaves through the throne room, shattering the window and blasting back several Mandalorians. As the wind roared into the chamber, the warrior's cape billowed behind him. He exerted his will, pushing against the powerful current until the chaos subsided. Almec seized the opportunity to flee the battlefield. While Rook-Cast and her squadron continued to engage the warrior, a Mandalorian leapt forward, blade in hand, but the warrior effortlessly seized him mid-jump, crushing his windpipe with a powerful grip before cutting him down. Another soldier attempted to ensnare the warrior with a fiberport whip, but he seized the weapon and yanked it, hurling the soldier toward him and dispatching him swiftly. Rook-Cast unleashed a barrage of blaster fire, but the warrior calmly deflected each shot before unleashing a massive Force push. The sheer impact of the attack sent Rook-Cast hurtling into the depths of the Sundari abyss, her fate unknown. Amidst the chaos, Maul ignited his double-bladed lightsaber and attacked the warrior. With a primal yell, he launched himself at the warrior, his weapon whirling in a blur of deadly arcs and slashes, his movements swift and predatory. The warrior met Maul's aggressive advance with a measured and imposing stance and locked blades. The combatants moved with a deadly grace, their lightsabers dancing through the air in a lethal ballet. Maul's acrobatic strikes were met by the warrior's methodical and powerful parries. The clash of their weapons resonated in the throne room. Ahsoka watched the duel from afar before hearing an explosion. She ran to the window to witness a full-scale siege of Sundari by more forces of the Empire. She was shocked as buildings were rocketed by massive explosions, blasting fire below. Another explosion caused her to fall. It also caused Maul to lose his composure as he realized his plan was falling apart.
It is useless to resist. Mandalore has fallen, and so will you. Bring me Ahsoka Tano, and your life may be spared yet.
Who are you?
Anakin.
Ahsoka stood at the end of the throne room, her gaze meeting the figures as he turned. In that moment, a sense of realization washed over Maul, causing him to draw in a deep breath. How could he have been so blind? The answer to the grand plan stood before him. Ahsoka, as she felt into the Force, standing before her was like a dragon. And yet, it was familiar. A dark son of a kind. But it was only him. They could both sense it now. The Dark Warrior. None other than Anakin Skywalker, yet now he bore a different name, bestowed upon him by his master. The Sith Lord, Darth Vader.
Ahsoka Tano.
What happened to you?
The person you speak of is dead, and so is the rest of the wretched council. Now, only the Sith and the Empire prevail. Anakin is gone, and soon so every Jedi in the galaxy will join him.
Vader approached Ahsoka Tano. She was frightened. She couldn't move. He stomped toward her.
However, you are strong in the Force. I will give you one chance. Join me and wield the power of the Empire of the dark side, or join the rest of the Jedi Order and fall by my blade.
Maul jumped in front of Vader, seizing his chance. He pushed forward, but he effortlessly blocked the attack. His saber had never even risen. Maul's blade was held mere inches from the Dark Lord's neck by the power of the Force flowing through Vader's singular raised finger. In that moment, Maul realized that he would be no true equal to Vader. Throughout all of this, Vader had maintained eye contact with Ahsoka, who stood speechless. In a surprise move, Gar Saxon emerged from behind the throne and launched an explosive toward Vader. He turned to react, but it was too late. The explosion pushed him, Maul, and Ahsoka against the wall together, but still, Vader managed to stand in time and deflect Gar Saxon's blaster shots.
For Mandalore!
Vader rose to meet Saxon's challenge, accepting the duel between lightsaber and blaster. As the two clashed, Maul held his head and Ahsoka stood and fled the throne room. With a daring leap, she plummeted from the Sundari Plaza, her escape echoing with the sounds of battle behind them. Maul too began to slip away as Gar Saxon turned toward him.
My lord, help me. We can take him together.
I think not. You have served me well until now. Die well, Mandalorian.
Saxon once again turned toward his opponent. In a surge of rage, Vader's fury intensified and he used the Force to seize the Mandalorian in a powerful grip.
No one will remember you, but rest assured, I will remember this battle.
The grip intensified as Gar Saxon choked, hearing the bones in his own neck crunch. Vader watched the armored corpse fall in front of him. He turned toward Ahsoka's path, ignoring Maul entirely, who went the opposite direction. He sensed Ahsoka, her fear was palpable, and made his way toward her path. But she continued to run, never stopping as she descended a grand staircase heading toward the old hallways of Sundari and nearing the entrance to the Mines of Mandalore. She turned sharply, her steps faltering as the tumultuous battle above took shape. She paused briefly to catch her breath, the echoes of Vader's ominous breathing apparatus growing louder and closer, signaling his pursuit of her. With a surge of adrenaline and fear, Ahsoka hastened her pace, darting into the caverns and down the long stretch that Maul had shown her previously. The sound of Vader's breathing felt like a looming presence right behind her. She continued to run, before stopping in front of the living waters. She breathed. She would have no way to swim. Not across these.
You cannot run forever, Ahsoka.
Ahsoka turned to see Vader standing, his lightsaber illuminated in the darkness. That darkness highlighting his silhouette as the red light reflected off his robes and armor. He stood straight, simply watching Ahsoka. She had no choice. She ignited her lightsabers, took a stance, and used her rage for defense. Vader continued to stand, unmoving, unfazed.
Why do all this? You've slaughtered them all. The Council placed their trust in you.
Betrayal finds us all, Ahsoka. The Council's betrayal reached far and wide, even to you.
Anakin, this is not the way of the Jedi.
Vader remained motionless, his gaze locked onto her.
Anakin Skywalker is no more. I am what remains. There is only Vader.
Ahsoka's breath caught. Pain and despair etched across her face.
Your demise will serve a greater purpose. The end of the Jedi Order.
The swift motion, Ahsoka lunged at Vader. But he deftly sidestepped her attack and disarmed her. She stumbled backward, fear evident in her eyes.
These waters will be your final resting place, fitting for one who forsakes loyalty for their own ends.
Ahsoka felt a powerful grip seize her legs, pulling her toward the living waters as Vader wielded the Force as if he was the Force. She struggled against a hold that nothing could break, her screams echoing through the chamber.
Anakin, please! Let me go! Anakin! You're scaring me! I don't want to die!
Fear is not the way of the Jedi.
Ahsoka was engulfed by the waters, Vader using the Force to push her down into the depths. As she thrashed and fought to keep her breath, the light slowly faded from her eyes. She would surface, briefly gasping for air, only to be pulled back under by Vader's relentless power. It was unclear whether Vader sought satisfaction for his actions, but he stood stoically with his hand outstretched as Ahsoka was repeatedly pulled beneath the surface, her desperate attempts at survival futile. There was no escape, no reprieve. This was the end of Ahsoka Tano, and she knew it.
Embrace darkness, Ahsoka Tano.
Suddenly, Maul emerged from the entranceway and launched himself at Vader, igniting his own blade in retaliation. Vader swiftly turned to meet the attack, but Maul's ferocity pushed him back against the rock wall.
No, I will not be defeated!
Maul's scream echoed through the chamber as he unleashed a devastating Force blast, causing the ceiling and walls to tremble violently. Ahsoka, gasping for breath, pulled herself up as the cavern shook and began to collapse around them. With a mighty push of the Force, Maul redirected the crumbling debris toward Vader, causing rocks to rain down upon him. Vader attempted to counter with his own power, but it was too late. He was engulfed by the landslide. Maul wasted no time, pulling Ahsoka from the water as rocks cascaded into the old hallways. Vader struggled to escape the collapsing mine, but the relentless barrage of debris continued to fall as the entire structure collapsed around them. Maul and Ahsoka ran up the staircase as the entranceway fell upon Vader.
You wanted this chaos. Move, Lady Tano.
Following Maul through several winding hallways, Ahsoka eventually arrived at a hangar bay housing one of his private ships. As more Venator-class Star Destroyers descended into Mandalore's atmosphere, any remaining Mandalorian resistance either fled, perished, or surrendered as their batteries opened fire on the civilians in the cities. Olmec and other politicians were swiftly apprehended by clone troopers, while the Super Commandos met a similar fate. Their forces decimated. Ahsoka watched in solemn silence as Mandalore burned to the ground, the flames consuming everything in their path in the holiest site on the planet. Buried. Meanwhile, Maul piloted his small ship out of the Mandalore system, undetected by the Venators. As Vader emerged from the rubble, his suit damaged, but not beyond repair. And himself? Well, he had more than enough power to spare. Despite his injuries, he was barely winded, only knocked down. He gazed upward toward the sky, his expression inscrutable.
Ahsoka Tano, I will find you. You cannot escape your fate.
Ahsoka pondered the toll of their actions. Collaborating with Maul, the trail of assassinations, the betrayal of Anakin, the emergence of Vader. It had all led to her life crumbling bit by bit. Doubts gnawed at her, questioning whether she had made the right choices. Could she have prevented this downfall? Were her actions, however misguided, ultimately necessary? Maul had saved her life, yet she couldn't shake the uncertainty of his motives. It had been his idea to remain in the city initially. Could he still be trusted? What was his ultimate endgame? As for her former master, Anakin, she knew he would stop at nothing to find her. He had fallen too. She had failed. Ultimately. Now she would be forced to flee, alongside Maul. Despite the uncertainty, Ahsoka clung to the hope of survival, knowing that somehow, someday, Ahsoka would endure. She would always survive.